Okay, so yeah, I am pretty late to this rant, but gotta do it. So, Konami, one of the longest running franchises, no, sorry, the companies in gaming. There, Konami is also one of the most beloved companies in video gaming history. And I have never seen this point. Not once in my video gaming life. Here's why. Konami had its humble beginnings in March of 1969. Whew! You know how many years ago that was? Like, almost a half of a century. But Konami became a big name in the 1980s with pretty much every other well-known old school sort of video game company. So, yeah. Not too interesting in terms of back story or anything. Konami's first really big game was Castlevania for the NES, all the way back in '86. Man. And yeah, it was a fun game. Even I'll say so. So, basically, this was the first time that Konami was really that big of a deal. They had a fun game, and it showed. And with the success, led to a sequel in 1988. Despite having great music, the less we say about it, the better. And then, in 2 years after the sequel, came another sequel, which is the first actual sequel to the original. I shouldn't have said that, I apologize. But, yeah, it's actually a lot of fun. Mostly because it has the perfect blend of the old and new together, including Forks in the Road, 3 other different playable characters who are actually characters, and oh yeah, it had the challenge to stay entertaining. Something that both of the previous Castlevania games also had, but not so much as this one. And in 1991, for the Super Nintendo, came another sequel. Basically, it was the same Castlevania that you would have known and loved, but on the Super Nintendo. Well, I don't like it that much. I can see why a lot of people did. It even improved on the majority of the mistakes that the previous games had made. But as a personal preference, this is probably one of my least favorite Super Nintendo classics. Remember, I'm just speaking about the classics. And then Symphony of the Night came out in 1990... I actually can't remember what year. For the PlayStation. Yeah, not on a Nintendo system. I know. Mind-blowing. But I actually kind of liked it. I've barely played the game, but from what I have played, it's quite enjoyable. So yes, I do enjoy Castlevania 1, 3, and Symphony. And Castlevania 2 is a game that's actually fun every now and then. However, I'm not here to talk about the positive things about Konami. Because this company was also responsible for Contra. Yeah, Contra, remember? When it was... For 1987, Konami released an action game under the name of Contra. And, a lot of people liked it, and it even introduced the famous Konami code, but I didn't enjoy it that much. It wasn't that it was badly designed or anything, just it felt so empty, so like it could have been so much better. Even with a friend, it could have been. There were a lot of things that were missed. Overall, missed opportunity. And then a year later, Konami released for the arcade Super C. This is currently the NES version. So, yeah. While there was even more variety, I consider this to be even more missed opportunities. Okay, when it comes to Konami games for the NES and other old school consoles, I have barely been skimming the surface. That's because, for the most part, they're well-designed games. They're just not in my taste. However, Konami was one of those companies which, for every single game they made for their own series, they made it a licensed tie-in. By its own merits, that's not a bad business idea or an entertainment idea. However, in execution, most of these games fall flat. The most notorious example, and overlooked at the same time, if that makes any sense, is Top Gun, an aerial flight simulation game. I can't believe I'm saying this, and it is on the NES. The problem isn't that it's broken, but so boring. What you're seeing right now is aerial combat. Most of the time what you'll see is what's happening now. Nothing fun. And another famous example is TMNT, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Basically, the premise of this game loosely follows the source material, and that's totally fine. In fact, I actually really like this one, and it comes recommended. Just so long as you're willing to deal with challenge. Yeah, in the modern gaming generation, challenge is kind of a taboo, so yeah. But if you can get past that, it's fun, and really, really tough. I have yet to beat it, so I can't speak for the entirety of the game, much like the majority of Konami. Oh, and by the way, if you thought Konami was done capitalizing on the success of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles back in the 90s, oh boy, you were wrong. Then there were 3 Konami beat-em-ups, the most famous being Turtles in Time, which is not this game, and none of them are that good in my opinion. It may just be my bias against beat-em-ups, but there's not really that much to say, or positive, mostly. Konami also capitalized on the success of Tiny Toons, because why not? This is Tiny Toon Adventures, a platformer in the vein of Super Mario Bros. 3 for the NES. Aside from having catchy underwater music, I don't think it's all too special. But a lot of people are bound to disagree. So if you've been noticing a theme throughout this video, then it's probably been that I have been talking about retro Konami and its games. A lot of people love those games, and I think I may have hurt some people's feelings in saying that I don't like them that much. But that's just my personal preference. I don't think that these games are too appealing to me. However, now I'm going to talk about new, modern Konami. Alright, so here I'm going to be listing all these actions done by Konami as quote-unquote crimes, because I disapprove of them very highly. So you guys know Hudson Soft, right? Well, I really like Hudson Soft, and this company has been responsible for games such as Adventure Island, Bonk, which I really haven't played that much, Bomberman, and Mario Party. 3 of the 4 are some of my favorite old school franchises. And then in 2011, Konami bought Hudson Soft. On the surface of all this, that doesn't sound too bad, because, you know, Hudson Soft wasn't really doing anything at the time, and Konami originally owned Hudson Soft somewhat to begin with. But then, in March 1st, 2012, Konami killed Hudson Soft. I don't care if Hudson Soft isn't developing anything at the time, and I don't care that Konami would eventually allow Hudson Soft's IPs to be developed by other people. That is just wrong, especially with the second point. In fact, I think that actually works worse for Konami. Many Many people have said their hatred of Konami because of their cancellations of sequels to beloved series such as Silent Hill, Metal Gear, and many other beloved series. But to me, the biggest crime that they have committed is kill Hudson Soft. That isn't just morally wrong, it is also financially wrong. Konami's killing of Hudson Soft with barely even using it to begin with is a really dumb strategic option. Why buy a company if you're going to proceed to kill it while barely using it in the first place? And we wonder why Konami is struggling financially. I know this is from 2013 to 2014, but still, that was around the time that Konami had killed Hudson Soft a year or two in advance. And don't even get me started on the time that Konami fired Hideo Kojima. Reportedly, according to CraveOnline.com, which I'm going to take loosely because it's a .com, Hideo Kojima was reportedly too expensive, taking way too much budget for Metal Gear 5: The Phantom Pain. The problem is that Konami doesn't understand that higher budget means better chances of making a good game. This is another reason that I hate Konami. It is a greedy corporate company that only cares about profit, not care or intention to make a good game. That is the opposite of their past self. At least back then, they were dedicated to making good games, but they fell short in my opinion. So, while I didn't like Konami to begin with, I now have the right to say that Konami is easily the worst company in video game history. Far none. Konami also made a notorious move to mobile gaming, but I'm not going to talk about that too much because really I don't care too much about Konami anymore. I don't care what they do, I am not going to talk about this any further. The bottom line is that I hate Konami. Way to go! You are now, in the eyes of many people, Konami, a greedy corporate murderous company who will not listen to its fans. Way to go.